Welcome to Next Radio with Broadcast Bionics, innovative solutions for creative people.
Hey everyone, my name is Ed and I'm from Omni, and this is Trevor from Jack FM, and we're here today to help make you awesome at sharing audio. So before we get to that, just a little bit of background. So media has been evolving. It used to be that you're a media company and you did print, you did TV, or you did radio, and that was your channel to reach everyone in one city or one kind of region. Now with the internet, what we're seeing is media companies have turned into brands that produce content, and with the internet, they can reach the entire world, and they can all do text, audio, and video. So if you're a media company, you need to have a strategy for each of these. What we've also seen is through services like blogs and YouTube, text and video have been growing like crazy. But excluding music, audio has been lagging behind. So we at Omni are pretty excited about audio. We're seeing social media sharing of audio grow. We're seeing all the rise in podcasting. We're seeing lots of listening on mobile. And this is only going to get bigger as we see the connected car rise over the next kind of 7 years. And so, with all this listening going on, we'd be thinking, all right, surely radio stations who make audio for a living are really excited about this and they're putting all of their content online. What we found is a lot of radio stations are just, after one use, throwing their content away, and they're not embracing on-demand audio as well as they could, and enough of their audio isn't being getting shared. So at Omni, about earlier this year in Feb, we launched a product called Omni Studio, which made it really easy for radio stations to overcome this and kind of share their content and put it everywhere. In a nutshell, what it does is from on-air to online in 30 seconds, and then you can manage it everywhere. Now, so since launching this, we've been working with radio stations all around the world of all different shapes and sizes, and this has given us a really good view on what's been working, what's not working, and I wanted to share some of these learnings today. Now, one of the stations we've been working with is Jack FM in Oxford, and these guys, for a small station, do a great job at, with a small team, getting their content out and getting it to all these different places and getting a huge reach that's much bigger than the audience in Oxford. And that's why Trevor's here to help me today to share some of the great stuff they've been doing. Trev.
So, thanks, Ed. So, what we're saying is, of course, get your content on air, online as soon as possible. We all spend hours on our content, don't we? Maybe sometimes even minutes, but you don't want to waste that. So, you want to share it as soon as possible. For example, on air this morning, we had somebody on air saying that Jeremy Corbyn was responsible for putting the rose on Cheryl Cole's bottom, because, of course, he loves roses and he loves Cheryl Cole's bottom. And so we had that audio, and of course, that's topical right now. Everyone's talking about Corbyn, and we shared that with our audience this morning, and we'll continue to share that as long as that remains topical for the next few days. Because, again, it's from a listener, and we can get that on air and online as soon as possible. And so what happens is that you have small pieces of audio, and that's the best way. Now, Steve Fountain is somewhere here today. Steve, are you here today? He was here earlier. Hi, Steve. Steve is responsible for me making sure that all my pieces of audio are very small, like me. And because day after day after day, Steve used to come in, of course, and say, word economy, those two words that a lot of presenters were brought up on. And we make sure, of course, that all our pieces of audio are bite-sizable chunks, 2 to 5 minutes. As we know, as we consume on Facebook, on Twitter, that we sort of drift away. Especially we have a lot of radio presenters here today. Our attention span is a little small, and so we make sure that we keep our content that we share through Omni Studio to about 90 seconds to about 5 minutes, no longer than that, because again, you want to make it consumable in this day and age. If you have guests coming in now, we had Jason Manford coming in, and if you've had Jason Manford come into your show, you know that he's superb at sharing with his millions on social media. And so make sure that if it's a leader of the council or it's a Jason Manford, that they share what they're doing with you, because again, that's a potential new audience. And again, using this software, you can turn that around within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, one I wanted to just highlight on the slides here is a show in Australia that's been doing incredibly well called the Shazam Top 20. So what these guys do is they look at the top 20 songs that have been Shazammed the most, and then they talk about the artists. They sometimes get their fans on air. They sometimes get the artists themselves. And through getting the artists or the fans or even the fan groups to kind of share that content, these guys have been getting some crazy numbers all around the world. And for one small show in Australia, it's pretty exciting. Another point I guess I'd mention is it's not just about those really big personalities. We've seen instances where a fan has been on air, and to them, that's them being a celebrity, and just this quick call or this quick happy birthday or something, they want to get that out to their whole network and have as many people listen to it as possible. So whether it's a top tier celebrity all the way down to your most unknown listener, get all of them to be putting your audio out there.
I've never been heckled by a crotch before.
Another big one we're noticing is that all platforms aren't the same. A lot of radio stations we see go, okay, well, we had a 2-hour show this morning. We'll put all the talk breaks together, and that'll go for about 40 minutes. Let's put that on Twitter. Let's put that on Facebook. Let's have that as our podcast. Each platform has its own way to leverage it, and you need to treat them all differently, and you need to make the call on which ones you want to be on. For your website, make your audio just be there and just really easy to get to. There's nothing worse than I want to listen to something from a radio station. I go to their website and I have to click around. I can't find their audio. All of the audio should be there, and it should be front and center where people can find it. If it's Twitter, they don't penalize you for posting. So every break, just as long as it's good, get it out there and just keep sending tweets out there and keep them in that kind of 2 to 5 minutes. So when they're in the Twitter feed, people are actually going to sit there and listen before they kind of move on to the next stuff. If it's Facebook, these guys prefer that you post less but better quality content. So perhaps one post a show, maybe one post a day. And the more you post, the more it's going to get spread across them. So we found that get your best stuff and put it on Facebook. Make sure you set your content up so it actually plays well in these environments. So with Twitter, if you set up the right way as an audio card, you can actually play it in the stream. With Facebook, you can do this by making the content a video. And we see lots of radio stations that put links to nowhere that people just can't be bothered going that extra mile. So if it starts playing, in the browser and it's just there, you're going to get much better success. If it's a podcast, definitely keep doing your big full show podcast, but there's nothing wrong with making another feed of highlights or here's the best stuff across the whole station. We've seen a lot of these do really well, and just having your content in those smaller bits where if a listener doesn't like it, they can skip them. It's a really good way to give the listener more power, but also get feedback on which content's working.
So, of course, reusing the content is essential with this. And at the moment, I'm on my own presenting the show. Caroline, my co-host, is off on maternity leave. And someone walked in the studio the other day. As many commercial stations, you're doing the job of 5 people. And so I'm taking phone calls, I'm on air, and I'm also reusing this content during the show, but also use it outside the show too. So using the hashtags, of course. If you've got some great content from an X Factor guest that you've had on, or some great comedy bits that you've done during the week on X Factor, of course, you can pump that out when the show is on using the hashtags. And again, you're potentially dragging in new audience to yourself on Monday morning.
Cool, yeah, that's all we've got time for today, but James wanted a top 5, so get your content out there as soon as possible. Get it in a nice, small, snackable 2 to 5 minutes, so it's going to be really easy to share. If you've got a guest, get them to tweet it as well. Make sure it's on the platforms you want it to be and that you're using those the right way. And then, make sure you reuse that content multiple times if it's really good, because some listeners won't have heard it and some will want to hear it again. I'm Ed, this is Trevor, and now hopefully you're more awesome at sharing audio content.